I'm Carole Leathem, and you're listening to a bonus episode of the Caretakers Journey podcast. I'm your host, and I want to welcome you to day 16 of our Caretakers 31-Day Resolve Challenge. Today is January 16th, 2025, and we are halfway through the 31 days. Today, our resolve centers around the idea of being patient with yourself. So grab your Post-it note and write, I resolve to accept that I can't be perfect and that mistakes are a part of my caretaking journey. There is no such thing as a perfect caretaker. We are all going to make mistakes. Are you a perfectionist like I was? I remember when I started out on this journey so many years ago, I had this desire that I was going to do everything perfect. I was going to make everything the best that it could possibly be. And I failed more than often. I just failed. I had to let go of my desire to be perfect, and I had to embrace that I was going to make a mistake. Well, I was going to make many mistakes. Do you know that when you think you have to be perfect and do everything with perfection, that you pour more stress on an already stressful situation? That's what I was doing. I was making my life more difficult because I kept trying to be perfect. Caretaking caretaking requires grit, resilience, and commitment. And guess what? Things rarely go the way we plan. We need to tell ourselves to relax. We're doing the best we can. That's another Post-it note moment there, right? I need to relax. I'm doing the best I can. Put that where you can see it constantly, because I have to tell myself that multiple times a day. So here are some things to help us as caretakers to let go of our perfectionism. Number one, accept your mistakes. Notice I said accept, not put yourself down for making a mistake. Accept that you're going to make mistakes. Don't put yourself down. When you make a mistake, ask yourself, what will I do different next time? Then learn and move on. Don't be afraid to fail. If you know that you're going to make a mistake, then you're already removing the pressure from your shoulders because you know you're going to make a mistake. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't worry or be anxious that you might make a mistake, because you will, and simply accept that it's going to happen. And you're doing the best you can right now. So this is where my binder or journal that we talked about a few days ago comes in, because I keep notes. I made a mistake early on, like a few days after my husband came home from the psychiatric hospital. He had had an allergic reaction to a medication that they had given him. And we were dealing with multiple care providers in different counties, and they were not communicating. And when I got home and I took him to the care providers at our home, I did not tell them I had forgotten. I didn't tell them about this allergic reaction. They gave him the medication. We had the same reaction again. It was not life-threatening, but it was very uncomfortable for him. And I felt horrible, because I felt like it was my responsibility to tell them. Now, it was important that I tell them, but I didn't have my binder or my journal at that time. And I had so many different pieces of paper and things that I was trying to remember, that this particular thing slipped my mind and I made a mistake, and it caused an uncomfortable situation for my husband. What I learned from that was that I needed to write things down. And that's when I started the binder/journals that I now use to this day. It also helps when you write things down that you can focus on what you learned versus what went wrong. It's so important to write it down and look at it, because I can go back if I make a mistake today and look and say, okay, I'm learning this lesson. I need to even tweak it. Sometimes it takes a few mistakes to get something right. So focus on what you learned, not went wrong. You're doing the best you can. Here's something that's so critical. It is important to have realistic expectations of yourself, of your loved one, of the doctors, basically a realistic expectation of anyone who is involved in your caretaking journey. Why? Because perfectionism comes in when I expect myself to be perfect, and that is unrealistic. Right now, today, I was dealing with an unrealistic expectation because I felt like my mom's hospice caregiver nurse should call me immediately, but it wasn't life-threatening, and she has a bunch of patients. And it was frustrating to me that it took 2 hours because I'm a list person. I wanted to get it off my list and move on, and she wasn't cooperating because I had a perfectionism problem going on because I wanted my list to be done completely, and I wanted to be able to say that I had this answer to my siblings. Unrealistic expectations just dump stress onto us. And when we have unrealistic expectations, then we can get angry, we can get cranky, we can get snarky with not even the person who we're trying to have the unrealistic expectations about. Could be unrealistic expectation about the doctor. Now I'm being unrealistic and snarky and mean to my husband, and that's not okay. So it's important to have those realistic expectations. And here's my final one. Don't compare your journey as a caretaker to anyone else. Each one of us has a unique journey. And while we can compare notes and encourage each other, comparison is usually done when we feel less than because we're comparing with someone, and it's never done fairly. I watch other people who walk through their caretaking journey, and sometimes it feels like they're doing it all right, and I am just tripping and like a bull in a china shop trying to get things done. But they don't see behind the curtains of my journey, and I don't see behind the curtains of theirs. And all of us are just doing the best we can. So don't compare your journey with someone else's. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you know a caretaker, share this show with them using the links in the show notes below. They need encouragement. They need to know that there are those of us out there that are on this journey with them. My resource for these resolves is from my book, Are You Ready to Find Joy When Life Gets Messy? And if you want to know more about my personal caretaking journey and how that started, the link to purchase my book is below. And I didn't always do it perfectly. In fact, I did it pretty wrong in the beginning. If you would like to have an in-depth copy of the Caretaker's 31-Day Resolve Challenge, then join my email list below, and I will let you know how to get it when it becomes available. As I close out the episode today, I want to pray for you. God, thank you that as caretakers, we don't need to be perfect. I pray right now that every caretaker who ever listens to this episode will make this resolve to lay down their perfectionism. Tell themselves they're doing the best they can, learn from their mistakes, and move on. God, I pray that this episode encourages somebody who may be feeling overwhelmed because they're making mistakes. Overwhelmed because they have unrealistic expectations. God, I pray that they will be encouraged and inspired in their own journey. Thank you for walking before us. Thank you for walking beside us. Thank you for walking behind us. God, thank you for loving us. I ask all this in your precious Son's name. Amen. Let me bless you. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look with favor on you and give you peace. I will be back tomorrow for day 17. And until then, it's all about him.